welcome back to the ATMA podcast, where we give you the tips, tools, and strategies you need to be successful. My name is Brian, and I'll be your host today. And we have our special guest coming back to us, which really we haven't left the room. Just kind of a, just kind of a secret. We're actually extending this next episode because one of the topics we talked about in the last episode was very interesting that it needed another episode to kind of piggyback off of. So in this episode, we talked about last episode, we were going off the course of humor, which, they're looking at me because I didn't understand what they were saying. So we quickly turned into this. So we talked about the influence that social media is actually having on mental illness and mental health today's age, right, Ivy and Bree? Yeah. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is how do you combat that as on the business side and on a personal side, right? On a business and personal side and a psychological side. So before we get into the topic today, I'd like Ivy and Bree to go ahead and introduce yourselves again.
Hi, I'm Ivy. I'm a junior in high school, and I am an intern for ATMA Trinity.
And I'm Bree, and I'm a content writing intern here at ATMA. And I'm going to say this every time. I'm a student at the University of Texas at Austin.
Awesome. Go hook 'em, right?
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns. Yeah, all right. Anyways, so I'm Brian, and I like to party. You guys didn't get that reference because it's a millennial joke. See?
They'd say that's chuggy.
Yeah, it was very tricky.
See, that's what we talked about last. You said millennials are cheesy, right?
And chuggy.
And chuggy?
That's
chuggy?
a word.
What does chuggy mean?
It basically means that you're like a millennial and your humor and everything is outdated and it's not in style anymore.
And gross.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm out of style, apparently. Anyways, see, this is we talked about mental illness, and I think it's Gen Z. Gen Z are the ones, they're making us millennials feel bad. Jeez. So
what we do best.
Oh yeah, your dark humor. Anyway, so let's talk about social media. We talked about the influence it's having in mental health, and we talked about the problem it's causing. And part of the problem is, like we talked about in the last episode, is the accessibility, right?
Yeah.
How accessible has it been? You talked how young again did you start social media?
I started social media at 10 years old.
Okay, right.
I was about 11, but it was not for personal use. It was because my school was actually having me do assignments on social media. So we'd have to create an assignment and then post it to social media and and comment on each other's assignments. So it even can start in school. And whenever I was in 6th, 7th grade, it was crazy.
The school system, you see that? It's not. Oh, that's kind of interesting. At 11?
Yes, I was 11.
Oh my goodness.
For me, they banned our phones from intermediate school to middle school and slightly in high school. They never allowed us to bring our phones. If we brought it, then they would take it up for the office and we had to pay $15 to get it back.
Wow. My school was very different. My school was very free with phones, and we had to use technology all the time. Everything had to be online, very digitally oriented.
Wow. So because it was so accessible to you ladies, right? And it's still being accessible. Now everybody has phones, right? Yeah. And so the accessibility, that means information is just going at rapid speed, okay? And so how important is it, because here we know the importance, right? You tell us a little bit about the importance of businesses being on social media and being on the internet because of the accessibility first, and then I'm going to go into a topic right after that. So tell me, why should businesses be on social media since it's so accessible?
I believe that businesses should be on social media because, like you said, it's accessible, right? And it's the digital age. Everybody's on social media, whether you're probably 10, as I was, all the way to people who are 70, who can still work technology by then.
It's funny you say that because my grandma's 70 and she's still on Facebook.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? And it's I think one of the cool things about the digital age was that it started roughly about I'd say 30 to 20 years ago, maybe. So there's been a lot of generations who've been able to work with and fill in what the digital age has become. So with that, I think businesses should be open to being on social media and not just sticking to traditional marketing, because that's how it's going to be. It's only going to go advance from here.
Exactly. And that's not to say that traditional marketing doesn't work, because it can be effective in its own way, but I think you're missing out on a whole generation and all the future generations if you're not willing to be online and on social media, because that's where we are. We spend a lot of time on social media every day. I don't know of anyone who doesn't have social media of some form and who doesn't go on it at least regularly. So I feel like it's very important, because that's how you get the information to us the fastest. Most of the information I get, like my news, I get that on social media because it instantly pops up and I can get real-time updates, and I can, comment and interact and like stuff. So it's very engaging, and I feel like I can interact with it more than traditional media and advertising.
Gotcha. So here's a question for you ladies, because when we deal with businesses, right, we discuss a lot. We talk a lot about social media in this, but we haven't talked on the topic of Google. Okay, why? So there's a lot of businesses, older generation businesses, and based on their service, and like let's say they're a service industry, they don't believe in social media because it doesn't have a direct ROI, right? And so what you're saying, how would you convince somebody that is older generation that primarily gets most of their business from Google to do social media?
I just think, honestly, Google is a great way, because I use Google all the time, right? Usually for me, though, I use Google after I see something on TikTok. I see something on TikTok and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let me Google that. I see a product. Oh, that's interesting. Let me Google that, right? And I think they go hand in hand. And with TikTok, you have more of a bigger demographic. There's not a certain age group that's on TikTok except for the new generation, right? And so, I mean, I see people who are like 30, 40, 50 on TikTok, and they're making content. I see it on my For You page. I'm like, oh, that's cute. I mean, it depends on what they're doing, but I think TikTok and Google easily go hand in hand.
I think so too. And I think it won't hurt you at all to make a social media. I think if anything, it's just going to help you, because as Ivy said, I also look up stuff after I see it on social media. So I'll look up someone's website or some local business within my area after I see their social media post. And the thing about social media is that you can link like your website or some searchable item in your social media. So you can put that in your bio, and I can easily click on your website or click wherever I need to on Google on the internet after I see your social media page.
So it's funny you say that, because there's a lot of companies right now that spend majority of their advertising dollars on Google, but what you're saying is you don't even know they exist, because the first thing you're not even know they're gonna exist unless they're on social media, and then you only use Google to verify that they're a business and to actually get their contact information. Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah, I mean, I'll see it on TikTok or any socials, and I'll be like, ooh. And so then I'll look in the comments to see like what the product is or what the company is. I'll search for it. Then I'm like, okay, so like what's in this product, right? Back to what I was saying about how we do our thorough research. We want to know what your product is, what you stand for, and who you are as a person. So that goes hand in hand. I think just Google is a great thing to have on the side when it comes to your business and if you're selling something.
So now that we know, okay, because I wanted to decipher that before we get into this next topic, which is kind of like I left a cliffhanger at the very last episode, which is like everybody was like, well, aren't you going to talk about that in this episode? So those you talked about how the severity is of people that are on social media and their image, and how you guys are you guys really are judgmental generation. And so us older generation, or anybody who's a business owner, we talked about business brand and personal brand like we before, right? How does somebody, go onto social media not worrying about how they look?
I think it's just like I've said in the past few episodes, you just have to be cautious, right? When it comes to certain ideologies and what certain people believe, depending on the type of business that you have. So let's say you have like a hair company towards people of color, right, who have certain hair types, and then you want to advocate for your ideologies, then that's great. But let's say you're just selling just a random product that reaches out to the whole demographic of everybody, right, no matter who they are, then I think you shouldn't step into politics. I think the big part of image is politics. And if you want to keep an image to where it's neutral and nobody really tends to take a sense of and want to like have an opinion or bias on it, I would just honestly stay out of politics.
And for me, I feel like it has to do with authenticity. And I know we talked about that in a previous episode. You have to remember that most of what you see on social media is not authentic. It's not real. It's very edited in some way. And a lot of people put on a persona that's not actually them. And it's very believable to a lot of people because that's what they constantly are exposed to. And so if you see it so many times, then you start to believe it. So I feel like that's kind of what sets businesses apart who are authentic, and the ones that are not authentic, because if I can see that you are truly sticking to your values, that you're not, posting something fake, or you're not so heavily edited that I don't know if something's real or not with your business, I feel like that makes such a difference because I know I can trust you a lot more, and I feel like I like your business a lot more if you can actually be authentic.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, before I stopped writing this book, but I was writing a book called Authentic Marketing, and part of the thing was like, so I'm on this podcast, and I'll be honest with you, right? Like, I am not the best looking guy in the world, okay? And there definitely could be like a different model right in my seat doing this, but what I've found and what I've learned, and it's not a Gen Z thing, it's just like overall thing, because social media is very edited. You don't know what's real. You don't know who's behind the scene, right? The thing that I've learned is the less edited my content is, the more views I get, the more response I get, the more comments I get. It's just overall, like, if it's more authentic, you're going to get more results off of it. And I think that, because most of our customers are older, right? They don't understand that because they've been taught is in their marketing efforts, what they have to be perfect. Okay. And that's kind of like the biggest problem I see with our customers is, when they get to their website, it has to be perfect. When they get the video, it has to be perfect. When they get into social media, it has to be perfect. And, I understand the professionalism. However, we're on social media, right? And so breaking that barrier between, hey, this is not a TV commercial. This is social media we're dealing with. And so how do you educate those, the business owners that, hey, stop worrying about if it's perfect?
So I say this every single episode, and it goes back to just kind of the emotional intelligence of Gen Z. We're not perfect. Very, very far from it.
Yeah, your dark humor actually in the last episode was,
Yeah. And so we obviously we're very judgy, but we still have a sense of heart.
Wow, the way you even said that, like, you were like shaking judgy,
Hey, I got the attitude.
And what I see on social media is some of the ones that go very viral are the ones that show their flaws and they're not afraid to hide it. And I think that there was a whole meme or like a trend about, being quirky and embracing it and embracing your flaws. And I see a lot of people, relating and feeling very emotional, like in a good way, whenever they see someone who, is not afraid to be imperfect because they see that that person's truly human and truly can relate to them and actually, have something out there that isn't affecting their mental health in a negative way. And I also know that there's something called de-influencing.
De-influencing.
That is a huge thing that has been popping up this year, I believe.
Yes.
And it's basically people who are telling their followers, this is why you should not, buy a product, or this is why you should not adopt this lifestyle because maybe it's not good for you.
Yeah.
Man, we're talking about like some dark stuff. That's why you're talking about dark humor and stuff over here. You guys are going dark influencer now. Dark influence, the dark web. Anyway, so I had a train of thought and I just lost it after that comment. I was gonna say, when we're talking about being authentic. So what you're trying to tell me? What's the word? Was that cheesy? Is it
Chuggy?
Chuggy. So I should embrace my inner Chuggy. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Okay, so it's to an extent, right? When it comes to trends, you don't want to be chuggy. You don't want to be cheesy,
It's
right?
okay, I'm jukey.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's just bypass that.
Yeah. When it comes to that, I mean, it's really, I feel like a hit or miss, right? When it comes to certain types of chuggy where they're like, when you make fun of Gen Z, like, oh, like we're wearing skinny jeans one day and then the next day it's all about mom jeans or something like that, and or how like certain things of our generation is stupid, then we're like, okay, whatever, we don't care. And then, but when it comes to like, maybe you're just like, is it just me or is it like this or this, right? It just depends on how you represent that side of you, right? When it comes to something positive, oh yeah, this and that, and then maybe you want to have like a little bit of Gen Z like twisted to it, or we find it enjoyable.
It can be endearing, but I feel like if you're like, oh, you know, back in my day, we did this.
Oh,
I feel like
hate
that's a
that.
turn off to people, and I feel like that's kind of how the okay boomer thing happened.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I hate when they're like, you know, back in my day, I hear it from my dad all the time, right? He's like, back in my day, we didn't have that. And I'm like, okay, well, good for you, but we do now. And so it's just like, it's just how it is.
But if it's something positive, I feel like it can be entertaining and humorous. Like, I know on my Instagram, I get so many videos and reels of people doing, oh, you know, this is what I did back in the 2000s when I was in high school. And it's something like really funny. Like, they're kind of making fun of themselves, but it's entertaining for me as Gen Z to watch because I wasn't, well, I mean, I was born in the 2000s, but I wasn't old enough to understand what was happening. And so if I get to see that and people are embracing that side of their generation, it can be really entertaining, and I feel like I can connect with them in some sort of way.
Yeah, back in my day. I'm just kidding. So, you know, we've talked a lot about, you know, making content accessible, and you've talked a lot about the emotional side. We're going to continue this topic. Like I said, it's going to be I think a 3-episode topic, because now we're going to get into something. This was kind of like the bridge between the conclusion here of the emotional side, right? And we're going to go back to the mental health aspect in the next episode, and we're going to talk about how to be, you know, strong when it comes to just, you know, we're going to go back to some of the topics we talked about, being real and putting those puzzle pieces together on what you need to do, and just not be afraid to be on social media to promote your business. So once again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you, ladies, for being here once again. You know, we plan to see you guys in the next episode. My name is Brian, and we'll see you next time.